Good morning, it's Yvonne from the Fabric Hut. Welcome to Technique Tuesday. Today we are going to work on taking 1.5 inch strips by 5.5, and we're going to use these strips to figure out how to get our perfect 1/4 inch seam. You notice on this one, it's a little bit smaller than this one. This is my perfect quarter. So I'm going to teach you how to go from here, past this one, and straight into the perfect 1/4 inch seam. So join me at my sewing machine and we'll get started. We are going to begin our test with 5 strips, 1.5 by 5.5 inches long. And we're just going to sew these 5 strips together. You can just use scrap fabric if you want. I had some remnants from something I was doing, so I picked them up to use them. Okay, so excuse me. What we need to do is find our perfect 1/4 inch on our machine. All machines come with some sort of marks. Here's your 5/8 inch mark, which is what garment sewers use. There's the 1/2 inch, the 3/8, the 1/4, the 1/8, and then this one right here would be right down the edge where your needle is. These marks are all lined up with the needle being in the center position. When you first turn on your machine, your needle is going to be right there in the very center. So if you're going to use these marks, that's where you need to make sure your needle is. If you have the ability to move your needle around, make sure you have it in the middle. So this one right here matches the 1/4 inch right here, and there's even one right up here on mine, on my faceplate. So we're going to line up our fabric right on the 1/4 inch marks and see just how accurate those are for our project. So I'm just going to sew, keeping an eye right on that little mark right there. And by sewing these 5 together, we should, if it is an accurate 1/4 inch, we will end up with a square that is 5.5 by 5.5. If it is not accurate, then we need to do some moving around and adjusting so that we will have that perfect 1/4 inch. If you're off just a little bit, it adds up. It adds up really quickly across your project. So you want to make sure you get it right. Okay. So I have the first 2 sewn together. I'm going to add the 3rd one to this one right here. I'm not really worrying about whether or not everything matches. I happen to get some that matched, but just use scraps or use the same thing and then maybe put them into a block somewhere. Doesn't matter. Okay. So that has 3 of them together. And now we will add the last one. So we need to put it, we have colored, white, colored. I need to put it with the white in the center. Right there. And I'm still lining up on that little line. Now, even if you have a 1/4 inch foot for your machine, I would still do a test to see how accurate it is. Okay, so we have all of these sewn together. Not going to really be able to test it well unless it's pressed. So we'll bring up our iron here, and because this is just a test, I'm not even going to worry about what direction they're pressing them towards. I'm just going to press them all one way because I just don't care if I have seam allowances showing. Did I get it? Well, let's make it lay down right. Okay, so now if this is proper, if this is right, this is going to measure 5.5 inches. I have this cool little 5.5 inch ruler here. Let's put it on. And look how much we are off. We are off almost 1/2 inch, which means that this 1/4 inch mark is too far away from my needle. I'm taking too big of a seam because this is too small. So if you have the ability to move your needle, you can just bump your needle over a little bit at this point and try again. I'm going to show you how to do it without moving your needle over. So this little tool right here is called the Seam Guide Ruler. And you can get this from the Fabric Hut. And it comes with a very cool little magnetic seam guide that is really sticks on nice and tight. So what you do with this is if you look right here, I'm going to bring you in real close so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, you see right here these little numbers? There's the 1/4 inch. We're going to use that hole right there. These holes are 1/4 inch apart all the way up to 2 inches. So if you were doing hem or something, you could use this to put a guide for your hem. But we want that 1/4 inch. So we're going to put it up here to our ruler, and we're going to lower the needle down into that hole. And remember that we just tried this, and this little mark was too big. So there's some play in my ruler. If I push it towards the right, it goes over almost to that line. If I push it to the left, there's a farther gap. I'm going to, because there was quite a bit of discrepancy, I'm going to move it to the left. And I'm going to drop my presser foot down so it is now holding this steady. You can take this little magnet, and depending on your machine, right there it holds really tight. Some machines it will. Let's get it pushed all the way over to my ruler right there. Now, sometimes when I do this, if I don't get it put exactly in the right position this way, it will move a little bit because of so much plastic under there. I think I have it really strong this time. So we're going to, yep, it's not going anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to take my needle back out, take this off, and now I'm going to try this experiment again using that little guide as my marker for my 1/4 inch. And let's see how much closer I can get this time. All right. I apologize for the clearing my throat. It's allergy season here in Oregon. Okay, gotta lower my presser foot. There we go. And I'm not pushing it up against there. I'm just letting it glide right along. I'm not doing anything other than keeping my fabrics from moving away from it. I'm just gently holding it with one finger and letting the feed dogs pull it on in. There we go. I'll do the next one. Not quite even here. Now, if you don't have this little tool here, there are other ways to do it. You can, I love this little ruler with the hole, but you also can just use a ruler and drop your needle down onto the 1/4 inch mark and then put this up again, or if you don't have this, then you can use something like, this is just painter's tape that I have stacked about 7 or 8 layers. I use the 1.5 inch wide, and then I trim off the edge because it's real hard to layer them all exactly even. and then I cut off a 1/4 of an inch piece, and then where that is laying right now, I would put this down. Let's do it out here so you can see what I mean. And I would just lay this all the way down the machine so that I can use that as my guide, and it is thick enough that it will butt the fabric right up next to it like that. And so sometimes you actually can do both things. Use that and the tape if you want. It just kind of keeps it a little bit more secure. Okay, let's try this one. We're almost done here, and we'll see how this is. It is so important that you have this accuracy, especially when you are doing quilts with lots and lots of pieces, because even just a 1/16 of an inch off, that's only 16 seams before you're a whole inch off. So you just want to be really careful that you have it. And once you get it figured out, it's pretty easy to use it, to remember where that is and use it every time. Okay. Right along the edge of that, I'm using this one too. If I didn't have this, I would have moved that all the way up under my needle, or just before the needle. Okay, so shall we press this one and see how much closer I am to my 5-inch square? Get it finger pressed out a little bit here. There we go. What do you think? I think we're pretty close. Let's lay this one on it and see what we think here. Oh, look at that. We're going to be a lot closer, I believe. Okay, so I'm very, very close. I'm still just about a 1/16 off for all of this. So I am going to want to move this over just like 2 threads worth. There we go. And I bet if I did it again, it would be exactly perfect. So that's how you find your exact 1/4 of an inch. So important, so worth the time. If you find it, you can take a little Sharpie marker and just draw a line all the way up where your tape is or your guide is. Just draw a nice thin, this is not a Sharpie, this is a friction, but I like the ultra fine Sharpies because you can just put a nice thin line right there. If ever you need to take it off of your machine, alcohol prep pads or hairspray will take it right off of your machine, so it's not a permanent mark, but it will give you that to where it's easy to come back and just lay your tape right on it. I'm going to move this out of the way so I can show you where I would normally put this one. It would be all the way up just before the feed dogs. So I'd go all the way up in there. This is not going to be accurate because I didn't mark it before I took that off, but there you go, like that. So way up in there, then I can just guide my fabric right down the edge of it all the way up. You can use this for other things too when you're doing half square triangles or any sort of thing where you need a marking. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, just drop me a line and we'll see what we can do to answer that. And this should help your accuracy immensely. So show me pictures of what you do, and I would love to see some of your projects. So happy sewing!